Hey guys, so today I'm going to show you how I'm going to, I guess we'll call it update, this really inexpensive mirror that I purchased from Walmart a really long time ago. I want to say I bought this probably sometime in 2003. So I've had this mirror for quite some time, and I'm going to zoom in and hopefully this doesn't get too blurry, but you can see that it's just a pretty basic like scroll work wood mirror. It has a gold and silver tone finish to it. It's predominantly gold, and I kind of think it looks a little bit dated. I still really like the mirror. I like having it there, but I want it to look a little bit more modern, I guess. And I want it to pop a little bit more against this wall. So I'm going to be chalk painting it. So I'm going to take you guys through how I'm going to do that and show you using the Art Minds chalk paint that I purchased at Michael's. So I'm going to go ahead and get everything prepped and then take you guys through the process. I will also be chalk painting the two frames on either side, but I'm not going to do that today. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have time for that, but I will share that project with you as well, because as you can see, they're two completely different textures. This has a lot of like that scrolling like design in the wood, whereas this is like more of like a flat surface. So they're going to look obviously a little bit different, but I think they'll tie in a little bit better once I'm all done. So anyway, let's go ahead and get everything prepped and show you guys how this chalk paint stuff works. Okay, so I have the mirror down, and basically I went ahead and just took some vinegar and water and cleaned the mirror portion. And also I took a vacuum cleaner and vacuumed any of the dust out of like the nooks and crannies here. You can kind of see, you know, this is definitely very textured. I just wanted to get the dust out of there, and then I quickly wiped it with the same paper towel that I used to wipe the vinegar water solution off of the mirror, just to like get any like residue or whatever might be on here. Chalk paint does not require any special prep, but I always think it's good to kind of clean whatever it is that you're using prior to applying the chalk paint. So I'm doing this basically just on my kitchen counter. So I went ahead and protected the kitchen counter with an old beach towel that we have. And here are my supplies. So I just have the top of an old Tupperware to basically pour my paint in. I have my chalk paint, which again is the Art Minds, and I'm using the color Simply White. I have the white wax, which is what I'm going to use to seal this once it's all said and done. I have the Art Minds 4-inch brush, which I'm going to be using to work the paint into here. And then I have some painter's tape. I need to mask off the mirror portion because I'm going to try really hard not to get the chalk paint onto the mirror. Then I also have a piece of sandpaper here. This is nice because it's like got a foam backing, and so you can sand and then, you know, wipe away some of that excess. I don't know where my husband gets these. I'm assuming it's like Home Depot or Lowe's. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and tape off this mirror and then walk you guys through how this is going to work. Okay guys, so the mirror is taped off. I do have my assistant Stella here with me now. She wants to watch this project. I went ahead and started applying a little bit of the chalk paint to the mirror just to do a little test, and it's covering extremely well. So I am holding the camera while I'm doing this, so pardon any rapid movements. But this brush does make it really easy to work the paint onto the mirror. Really does a good job of getting into the edges there. It does not take a lot of chalk paint to get a really decent coverage here. So I'm just working that into, just making sure to get it into all of the little nooks and crannies. I am going to be sanding this a little bit. So I'm not too worried if I miss a few spots here and there, but getting it mostly covered. Grabbing a little bit more if I need it. Really work it into any seams. I think this will help to hide these seams a little bit too. Really like this brush. It's working great. Oop. Got a little bit on the mirror.
Mommy, why did you do that?
It was an accident.
It was not an accident.
Judge much?
I hate it.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do this to the entire mirror and show you guys what it looks like when it's done with the first coat. So the first coat of paint is on here, and you can see that provides pretty darn good coverage. I made sure to really work it into the different nooks and crannies, and just seeing a couple areas here. It's really easy to go back and, like, if you missed anything, fill those in. This brush is fantastic in terms of getting this coverage really quickly. There are other brushes that have a more circular shape to them, but this one appealed to me because I'm also going to be doing some larger furniture pieces, and I thought I would get really quick coverage with this. So it's working great on the frame right now. So I'm going to go ahead and let this dry and then come back and do a second coat. And then we'll let that dry and then do a little bit of sanding. Not much, because I want this to be a predominantly white end product. But we'll definitely do just a little bit of sanding on some of the high points to let some of that gold shine through again. So I'll check back in when we are ready for coat number 2. At this point, the first coat of the chalk paint is dry, and you can kind of see that you can still see through in certain areas. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put a second coat on, and I will do basically the same process where I just pour it into my little container here and then use the brush, which, by the way, I did clean the brush because I didn't want the paint to, like, get dried on here. And then I will just brush that on, and when the second coat is dry, I'll come back and show you guys what it looks like with 2 coats of paint. And we'll let that dry and then get to sanding a little bit after that. So stay tuned. So it has been roughly about 2 hours since I applied the first coat. It's pretty much mostly dry, so I went ahead and poured a little more paint out, and we're going to go ahead and put a second coat on here. I do want this to be kind of opaque, so that is why I decided to just apply 2 coats, and you can see that that definitely covers quite a bit more than even the first coat does. So once again, just working that into all of the little grooves. It really doesn't take much of this paint. It has pretty amazing coverage. I really do like this brush a lot too. I find that the brush not only does a good job of getting into all of the little grooves and stuff, but it just spreads the paint out so perfectly. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do that to the rest of this mirror, and I'll show you guys what it looks like when the second coat is all done. Here is the second coat of paint. So this one made it really nice and opaque, and I actually feel like I can see the details of the design in the wood a lot better now, and I really, really like the way that this looks. I am going to distress it a little bit, but I can't do that until this is completely dry. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up my brush and let this dry for 2, maybe even 3 hours, just to make sure it's completely dry. And then we will take our little sanding block here and we'll go through and just distress some of these areas just a little bit. So yeah, so far I'm really happy with how this is turning out. This is super easy, you guys. It doesn't smell bad. It barely has a scent at all. And the coverage that I'm getting from this is fantastic. I personally have not tried the Annie Sloan chalk paint because I haven't wanted to spend the money on it. But this Art Minds is great. I think if I were to do a larger piece of furniture or a more expensive piece of furniture, I would probably invest in the Annie Sloan. But so far, the Art Minds it's doing pretty darn good. So 2 thumbs up from my end. So it has been a couple of hours since I applied the second coat of paint, and I have gone back and sanded just a little bit to give you guys a quick view of the level of sanding that I want to do for this piece. So you can see that a little bit of that gold is peeking through now, and compare that to just leaving it completely white. Now, some people may prefer this look, but I like a little bit of this distressing, and I think once I get the wax on top of this, it's going to give it a little bit more shine, and I think it's going to look even better. So how I'm getting to this is I'm just taking this little sandpaper block here, and this one's really flexible because it has the foam on the back, and I'm essentially just rubbing it over the high points, taking off a little bit of that chalk paint. And this is really nice because it is so flexible. I can bend this in half and then get down here to some of these pieces down here. Now, this isn't necessarily naturally where this would distress through wear and tear, if you will. But I tend to like a little bit more of an even, uniform look. So, you know, you certainly don't have to do it to the level that I do. But you know, just kind of play around with it. The nice thing is that if you mess it up, just go back, wipe away any like residue, and then put another layer of the chalk paint over top. So you can fix any mistakes that you make, which is really nice. The chalk paint is really forgiving. So basically, I'm just going to keep going with this and take off a little bit of paint here and there, and let me blow the excess away. So you can see now there's just that little bit of distressing, and I really feel like this is giving the piece just a little bit more dimension. So I'm going to do that to the rest of the mirror and then show you guys what that looks like. So I have thoroughly distressed the mirror to my liking, and I really do think it gives it a little bit more character to do this. Again, totally up to you. It's not something that you have to do. You know, you have to kind of blow away like the excess dust to see like how much further you want to go with the distressing. There is, you know, like the dust sort of builds up and it kind of makes you think that maybe you've gone too far, but really once you blow it away, it sort of shows that you've really only taken off like the high planes here. So anyway, I'm really happy with this so far. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is just let this sit for another hour to make 100% sure that everything is all nice and dry. And then I'm going to go ahead and apply the white wax. And I will show you guys the process of applying that when the time comes. It is now time to go ahead and put the wax on. I poured a little bit of the wax into the container that we used before for the paint. Obviously, I cleaned the paint out, and I'm just going to take a little bit of this excess from the side here. So take my brush and start brushing this onto the frame. So really make sure you spread this out because you really don't want a lot of excess. And we're going to be wiping this off as we go along as well. So just going to work a little bit of that in there. And I'm going to work in small sections. Again, making sure there's not a ton of excess in the grooves. And this wax really does seem to go a long way, so I think I probably poured a little bit too much out, but I'm going to see if I can stick that back in there. Okay. Then you're going to take a lint-free cloth. I just have an old kitchen towel here, and I'm going to go ahead and wipe off the excess. Out of the way here. So you can see where the excess kind of collects, and you can easily go in there and get that out. So this is not something that you want to have on here heavily by any stretch of the imagination. So just sort of buff that in. I'm just going to be doing one coat of this because I think that will be plenty. If this was a furniture piece, I would maybe consider doing two, but I think one should be just fine. So there we go. We've got the sealer on there now, and we've got the excess out from the inside here. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed to do this to the rest of the mirror all the way around, and then I will show you guys the finished product. So let me get to work here. Okay guys, so here is the finished product hanging back on the wall. As you can see, it definitely pops a little bit more against the accent wall back there. I really am happy with how this turned out, and seeing the two wood frames next to this, it just sort of lights a fire under my butt to chalk paint those as well. They don't really look all that great next to this anymore. So let's take a close-up look here so you can see what everything looks like when it's all dry and basically just all finished. I really like the look. I can see a lot of the detail in the wood frame, and I really like that. It just looks really nice. I think the one thing that I would have probably done differently is actually chosen the clear wax, because I feel like this would have been a brighter white, which matches a little bit better with the bright white that we have in our trim and our ceilings and everything. But overall, I'm really pleased with how this turned out. I'm not entirely convinced about keeping this wreath attached to here. That was part of my Christmas decor, and I never took it down because I don't have a place to store it, so I just put it back up there for now. But yeah, I'm excited to paint those frames from our engagement pictures and give those a completely different look, because I feel like they'll tie in with that mirror then. So anyway, thank you guys for joining me along on this little DIY project. I hope it was helpful. And I'm going to be doing some furniture pieces coming up here soon, so I will be sure to record the process for those and take you guys along on that journey as well. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Bye.